We live in a culture obsessed with action, with doing, with making things happen. But what if everything you've been told about manifestation has been backwards? What if the very act of chasing your desires is the reason they remain out of reach? In the realm of quantum manifestation, this mentality doesn't just fail. It repels. Quantum reality isn't linear. It doesn't respond to urgency. It responds to coherence. And coherence begins when your internal state reflects the reality you say you want. Most people try to attract abundance while vibrating with the energy of lack. They visualize love while radiating loneliness. They affirm freedom while embodying fear. That contradiction is what the field responds to, not the words, not the vision board, not the ritual. Here's the twist no one talks about. Manifestation doesn't happen because you asked. It happens because you became. In quantum terms, the field, a matrix of infinite potential, is not moved by effort. It responds to resonance. That means your job is not to push, but to attune, to stop chasing and start becoming. This is where most people get stuck. They hear phrases like feel as if it's already done or be in the vibration of having, but it feels fake, out of reach. That's because they haven't yet understood the paradox. The state of allowing is the state that attracts. The observer effect in quantum mechanics shows that observation alters the outcome, but only when it's infused with expectancy, not desperation. When you observe reality through the lens of trust and knowing, the wave collapses into form. But when you observe through the lens of fear and urgency, the wave remains uncollapsed. Just possibility, never reality. Let's pause here. This isn't about blame. It's about waking up to how your energy communicates with the universe. Imagine tuning a radio. If you're trying to listen to 98.7 FM while your dial is set to 88.1, it doesn't matter how much you want the music, you'll never hear it. Unless you tune yourself first. That's what quantum manifestation is. Not asking the universe to deliver, but attuning to the frequency where that version of your life already exists. This is where ancient wisdom and modern science converge. Neville Goddard spoke often about living from the end, embodying the emotional signature of your desired outcome. Now Joe Dispenza talks about how the brain and heart must be coherent, signaling to the quantum field a unified message of creation. Abraham Hicks calls it getting into the vortex, that emotional sweet spot where resistance melts and receiving begins. Here's the real problem. Simplicity scares the ego. We've been trained to believe that value comes through effort, that transformation requires pain, that progress demands hustle. But in the quantum world, it's the opposite. The more you chase, the more you affirm the absence. The more you try to force, the more you amplify resistance. That's why this video is titled Quantum Manifestation is Simple. That's why. Nobody gets it, because simplicity isn't sexy, it's not marketable, it's not dramatic, but it is where the shift begins. In the next blocks we'll go deeper. We'll explore how to rewire your vibrational signature, how the field mirrors your internal state, and how to finally live as the version of you who doesn't chase but attracts. But first, sit with this. The version of your life you desire already exists. In quantum theory, all possible outcomes already coexist. Your only job is to collapse into that reality, not by force but by frequency. So pause the chase and instead start becoming. Not tomorrow, not when the money comes, not when the partner arrives. Right now, that's when the field begins to respond. If your external reality is a reflection, then what exactly is it reflecting? Most people approach manifestation with a to-do list. Visualize daily, repeat affirmations, write it down 10 times. And while these practices can be helpful, they often become mechanical. Surface-level attempts to change a mirror without changing the face it reflects. The truth is the quantum field doesn't respond to what you say, it responds to who you are being. And being is not performance. It's not pretending to feel abundant while panicking about rent. It's not saying you trust the universe while secretly obsessing over timelines. Being is alignment, a vibrational congruence between your inner world and the version of reality you want to experience. Joe Dispenza explains it like this: your thoughts are electric and your emotions are magnetic. Together they create an electromagnetic signature that broadcasts your state of being into the quantum field. That field, which holds every potential reality, begins to reorganize itself based on the signal you're sending. Not what you want, but what you are. Let's break that down. Suppose you desire a life of financial freedom. If you're constantly feeling anxious, checking your bank account, and imagining worst-case scenarios, your electromagnetic signature is one of scarcity. And scarcity doesn't attract wealth, it magnetizes more scarcity. The field is not judging you, It's just reflecting your broadcast. Now here's the twist. The most powerful way to change your signal is not to chase a new future, but to embody it, to feel it now, to practice the frequency of your desired reality until it feels natural, not as a lie, but as a remembrance. Because somewhere in the infinite multiverse, that version of you already exists, and when you align with that version emotionally and mentally, you begin to collapse that possibility into reality. This is not wishful thinking. Neuroplasticity shows us that the brain literally rewires itself through mental rehearsal. When you imagine a future event and bring up the emotion of it, gratitude, joy, peace, your brain begins to create the neural circuits as if it were already happening. Do that long enough, and your body becomes familiar with the future before it arrives. And when the body believes, the field responds. Neville Goddard taught this decades ago when he said, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. He wasn't suggesting you fake it. He meant fuse with it. Let the feeling of your desired reality become more real than your current circumstances. Let it be so familiar that your nervous system calibrates to it. Because here's what most don't understand. Manifestation is not about asking the universe for a favor. It's about meeting the version of yourself who already lives that reality and bringing that version into the now, not by effort but by resonance. And when that resonance becomes consistent, the field mirrors it back as experience. There's a shift that happens when you stop waiting for signs and start becoming the sign. When you stop watching for synchronicities and start living in sync, that's when reality bends. That's when time seems to collapse. That's when things magically align, not because of luck, but because of coherence. In quantum mechanics, the act of observation collapses the wave function, turning a potential into reality. But not all observation is equal. Observation charged with trust and emotional clarity has more collapsing power than observation tainted by fear and doubt. So ask yourself, what version of reality are you consistently observing within? When people say act as if, it's not about faking confidence or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about stepping into the emotional posture of someone who already knows. Someone who's not waiting for proof, but embodying the evidence before it arrives. This is the beginning of mastering your frequency. And when you do, you don't attract reality. You become the gravity that pulls it in. Now that we understand the quantum field doesn't give you what you want, it gives you what you are. The next step is to ask, how do you collapse the possibility into form? Quantum physics reveals that all potential realities exist in a state of superposition. Your dream job, your ideal relationship, your financial breakthrough, they are not distant hopes, but present potentials waiting to be chosen. But they don't become real simply because you think about them. They become real when your observation, your focused awareness, causes the wave to collapse. But not just any observation. This isn't a passive glance. The quantum field responds to emotionally charged focus, to observation laced with belief, trust, embodiment, and energetic alignment. When you feel your future as if it's already real, you begin to imprint that version into the unified field. You don't chase it, you stabilize it. And in doing so, the universe responds. Joe Dispenza explains that this process requires coherence, a synchronization between the brain and the heart. Most people live in mental chaos and emotional incoherence. Their thoughts want one thing, but their emotions communicate lack. Their actions are scattered, motivated by fear or doubt. And in that state, the field can't find a clear frequency to reflect. When your brain and heart enter coherence, your signal becomes stronger. You're no longer sending mixed messages. You're broadcasting a unified frequency of trust, gratitude, and certainty, the signature of someone who already is what they once hoped to become. Let's look at this from the perspective of neurobiology. When you feel an emotion, your body releases chemicals that correspond to that feeling. Gratitude produces dopamine and oxytocin. Trust produces serotonin. These chemicals don't just make you feel good, they shift your entire physiological state, and your state becomes your point of attraction. If you can generate these emotions without needing external confirmation, you reclaim your creative power. You're no longer reacting to life, you're informing it. And this is how reality begins to shift. Neville Goddard used to say that your assumptions harden into facts. What he meant was this: your consistent emotional assumptions create a